So, welcome to the Invicta Vita podcast, everyone. I am the founder of Invicta Vita. I'm Gigi and I'm delighted to welcome my guest, Jowita Penkala, who is the founder of Excellence. Jowita, thank you so much for being here with me today. It's a true honor to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm great to be here.
Oh, I'm delighted to have you. So, today we're going to discuss a topic that's really quite close to my heart and that I think a lot of people are wondering about. It's starting to be spoken about a bit more now, but it's been quite taboo for many years. And that's around health, stress, burnout, mental well being. So, you and I first met 5 years ago at the Mayfair Collective lunch. I remember I was sat on the same table as you. You were wearing this beautiful yellow dress. I complimented you. And I was really struggling with my gut health in particular at the time. And I think you and I just really connected quite deeply through a shared experience of health struggles. So, could you summarize for us your personal health journey?
What I would say about my personal health journey, that it was challenging, character building, and also carving the path to my purpose in life. Why it was challenging? Because I grew up believing that the past shapes our future and the past experiences, and I was living was confined by this belief for a long time, which was wrong, absolutely wrong. But that's what I believe, and that's what happened to me. Character building, because obviously every single day I had to push through, no matter what, and go forward. Whether it was keeping up with school or just getting through the day, because I never knew whether I'm gonna have the next surgery the following day, or maybe in 6 months' time, or perhaps slightly later. So it was always living in fear. And it was also carving my path to my purpose in life, because all those experiences gave me the dream of becoming a surgeon, specializing in pediatric care, because my last surgery was finally successful. And despite all the things that happened to me and around me, those traumatic experiences, I still hold on to that beautiful dream of becoming surgeon, because I wanted to turn my story, my suffering, physical and perhaps mental to a certain degree, because I lived in fear, to help the purpose of helping people, helping other kids, which were in a probably similar situation that I was few times in my childhood as well.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. And actually, I remember you telling me a really moving story that gave me chills, whereby you said that you were told at the age of 10 that you probably wouldn't make it. So, how do you find the resilience to just push through that and prove all these people wrong?
Well, I found the resilience from within, to be honest. When I sat in silence, despite all the fears that were going through my body and my mind, and the fears and worries and doubts, and when I was sitting in silence and dreaming, literally turning off my rational mind that were feeding me all the negative stories and scenarios of what's gonna happen next, I tried to switch it off and focus on my imagination and where my imagination would take me to my dreams, which was being completely healthy. So my resilience really came from within, from the silence, to listen to the inner voice that was refusing to accept that this is my story, that my story ends here. So there, so the deep inner voice.
I love that deep inner voice that's actually telling you you can do it and you can defy the odds. And I think that's so important. So, what would you say have been some of your biggest lessons from all of these health challenges?
The biggest lesson was to turn my turn my suffering, or physical and mental in a way as well, into purpose in life. And I also learned that the greatest strength comes not from avoiding pain and avoiding those challenging situations, but actually to find a purpose within them. But the biggest shift came when I eventually shifted my mind from thinking that I am a victim of circumstances and tried to learn what the life is teaching me here and raise above it. And this mindset shift was transformational for me, Georgina.
Yeah, that's really inspiring, actually. So, what you're showing is that actually the mind has such power. And I want to talk about that in more detail with you. Does the mind have some element of control over the body? Like, how can you explain that to our audience?
Absolutely, I believe, and not that I just believe. It's not just my belief. It's a proven fact that the mind and the body are totally inseparable. The thoughts and the beliefs that we have shape our physical health, as well as the food we eat, the water we drink, and the air we breathe. All of those have a profound impact on our physical health and mental health as well. So the mind and the body are totally inseparable partners. One cannot function with the other, and one cannot thrive without the other as well.
Yeah, no, that's really actually very true. And I think that if you convince yourself that you can actually push through, then actually you could be surprised what you're capable of doing.
Correct. And the funny thing is that probably the most scary and the most, I would say, ironic thing is that despite of what's happening around you, you need to force yourself and teach your mind not to play tricks, and you are not listening to your mind, what your mind is telling you, but actually raise above it and say, no, this is just the thoughts, negative thoughts. I want to focus on my dream, which is becoming healthy or becoming more resilient, etc., despite of what's happening around you. And when you are able to do it once, you will be able to repeat it again and again, and eventually you are controlling your mind rather than your mind is controlling you.
Yeah, and I like what you said about not being a victim, actually pushing through and saying, I'm actually going to take control of my life
Correct.
and get better and actually strive for better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that eventually when I started repeating the same thought pattern of positive thoughts, of dreaming, it for everyone else around me, it was a fantasy dream. For me not to have any other surgery, but I hold on to that belief, to that dream visualization, and eventually it became my reality. I never had any other surgery on my abdomen.
Incredible. That's inspiring.
Yeah.
Really inspiring. Yeah, as you know, I've had my own
Yes.
health struggles.
So what things have you implemented in your life, in your day-to-day life, to push through and to come on the other side?
That's a really great question. I think there are three key elements that I've really focused a lot on in the last few years that have been very beneficial. The first is increased sleep. And I know people who know me will be laughing because I'm known in my group of friends to not get a lot of sleep. But I promise you, I get more sleep now. I
That's
used
good.
to survive on about 4 or 5 hours a day, which is clearly not enough back when I was in the finance industry. So definitely focusing on more sleep and going to bed earlier. The second is nutrition. I'm actually, as you know, on a gluten-free diet because
Mm-hmm.
I am celiac, but also just eating cleaner, healthier has really helped with that, along with supplements. So I've really focused on that. I went to see a nutritionist and integrated certain probiotics and better nutrition into my diet. And the third is more exercise. Pilates has been a game changer, actually. It's really helped me in terms of my physicality, but also helping with my posture and my back issues. So I think those three things have been really beneficial. And then the fourth I would add is just surrounding myself as much as possible with positive people who bring great energy to my life.
So as you can see, the health is not just physical.
Yeah.
Being healthy, it's about implementing other things like physical exercises, diet, better nutrition, but also mental positive thoughts and being surrounded by positive people and positivity.
Absolutely. I think we underestimate how much our circle can have an influence on our well being and ultimately on our health.
Correct.
And this leads me to something that's really exciting that you actually helped to bring to the UK in 2023 called the Zenni Method.
Correct.
Tell our audience a little bit more about the Zenni Method.
So I haven't told you, you know that, but for the audience, for those who are viewing us and listening to this podcast, after those 3 surgeries, that I decided to refuse completely what people were saying to me, the top consultants, because they were saying that I will be having other surgeries on my abdomen. I decided to completely refuse what they are saying. But then sadly, and I reprogrammed my mind for that, and I never had any other surgery. However, when I was 17 years old, Georgina, I started suffering from some chronic health conditions, which was a consequence of obviously those traumatic experiences, my health issues, which I thought were completely sorted, but then it manifested itself through having severe eczema and thyroid issues. And long story short, again, I was told by top consultants that the only option for me is to manage the symptoms and go on medications. However, again, I refused to accept it. And I was looking for a solution to my health problems, and I wanted to reverse it rather than just manage them. And again, I had this big dream, and I went on 20-year search for solutions to my chronic health conditions. And eventually that resulted in discovery of the Zenni electrostimulation method, which is a science-backed revolutionary treatment, gentle electrostimulation that helps people with a wide range of chronic health conditions, not just eczema or thyroid issues, but many others. Even Parkinson's and dementia can be reversed to a certain degree.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And I love that you're offering this treatment here in the UK to so many people with different chronic illnesses or aches. So I think that's really great. And just for our audience, how would you say the Zenni method bridges the gap between emotional, mind, body?
So people come to me usually when obviously they have physical health issues like arthritis, joint pain, diverticulitis, gut issues, you name it. However, when your health, physical health, is not exactly at the right place, people start suffering mentally because they start worrying what's going to happen next. So that has also emotional toll and mental toll on people. So the Zenni electrostimulation method can help bridge the gap, because when they come to see me, I don't treat just the body, or I don't help them just with the chronic health issues, but I also find out more about them personally. And very often, these people have more negative thoughts than positive. So I teach them or train them with little tiny practices what they can do with their mind to support the recovery on the physical level as well.
Yeah, and as you say, that just shows that the two are so connected. How you feel emotionally is having an impact on your body. And the body sometimes just goes, stop, that's enough.
Correct.
I can't take it anymore,
Yeah.
right? So if you are experiencing burnout or extreme stress, whether it's at work or in your personal life, those signs are going to actually show on your body.
Correct.
So, what's one practice or mindset shift you would recommend to our audience, to our listeners, to help them restore balance to their lives?
I think that the practice would have to have a few steps.
Okay.
First of all, reflect on where you are in life, in every aspect of your life. So the easiest and the quickest practice would be to rate every aspect of your life in scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the highest and 1 is the lowest. So your personal finances, your career, where you are with your career, how happy you are with it, how happy you are with your family life, social life, the environment you live in, so your home, the neighborhood you live in, and also mental health, emotional health, and physical health. Once you rate it and be brutally honest with yourself, because we very often love to lie to ourselves because we don't want our illusions to be destroyed. But be brutally honest, sit by yourself and do it when you have a bit of time. And after that, think, what is the one thing or two things that I would love to improve in my life? What is the priority? Because we would love to have it all straight away. And trust me, very often when one thing's improve, then the other areas of the life improves as well. After that, I would encourage people to sit in silence for 10 minutes, listen to some beautiful meditation music. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere else, and start dreaming. And if your rational mind is saying, well, this is ridiculous, you will never gonna achieve it, just say stop to those thoughts, those negative thoughts. And you build on from one day. Of course, it's gonna be unnatural, uncomfortable, even ridiculous or stupid. But if you carry on with this process and push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone, eventually you will find out that if you do it regularly, day in, day out, eventually you will build this beautiful dream and you will start feeling better about yourself and about your future as well.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. That's effectively you taking control of the narrative and pushing out those negative thoughts, because it's very easy to let the negative thoughts take control. And once they take control, it can be a really slippery slope.
Absolutely.
So it's actually taking that control and saying, I can do it. I'm going to push past this. I mean, athletes do this all the time, don't they?
Absolutely. They are taught by the mentors or the psychologists the sport discipline, whatever they are doing, specializing in, to do visualization.
Yeah.
And this is confirmed fact, confirmed by science, that if your mind believes that you can do it, there is only 10-20% maybe max of the skills physically, and you will do it. And
Yeah.
it's not just about sport. If you now apply it to any other area of your life, you can do the same. So instead of pushing constantly for the results, they will come to you in a way with much less effort and much quicker.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that is spot on. And actually, I think we can learn something from athletes in that
Correct.
regard, because whilst we're not professional athletes, they have that no lose mentality. You know, I've seen Roger Federer down, you know, how many sets or match point to his opponent, and he's come back and ended up winning the match. And I just love that mentality of, I can take control of the narrative and push
Correct.
through.
Correct. Sometimes it's hard, of course.
Yeah.
But a bit of time and effort spent on them, and we can be the authors of our lives rather than just playing a part in it. But
Absolutely.
Georgina, looking back at your financial career in finances, what do you wish you knew then that you know now?
I wish I had appreciated the importance that health can have on your overall well being and ultimately performance at work. Because I was very much go, 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 because it was super fast paced, it was performance driven, targets, all of that. You want to make everyone happy, you want your clients to be happy, you want your boss to be proud, you want to win new business as well. So you want to be a top performer. But if you are not physically well, and if you are not getting enough sleep,
Correct.
then you're not going to be there.
No.
So, you know, you're of no use to your clients or to your team if you're in hospital or if you're just not there because you're sick. So I wish I had realized the importance of health sooner. And actually, I wish I had also said no a bit more. It's very easy when you're earlier on in your career to actually say yes to everything. It's very tempting. And I know people who still say yes to everything and they take on too much. But actually, there is only so much one human being can do. And sometimes you have to learn to say no.
Totally, absolutely.
But if someone's listening to this right now thinking, what are the signs of burnout? Because we don't really talk much about burnout. It's only in recent years I've heard people talking about it a bit more, but it's still a little bit taboo. So, how do you know that this is actually burnout as opposed to it's a little bit stressful or it's a career that requires a bit of stress? What are the signs of burnout?
There are many signs of burnout on different levels. There is burnout on a mental and emotional level, signs of burnout on a mental and emotional level, physical level, and behavioral level. Okay. So, mental and emotional would be racing thoughts, total restlessness of the mind, feeling anger and anxiety pretty much on a daily basis, and believing perhaps that it is normal, that you need to still push through. Another, in terms of physical manifestation of burnout, would be high blood pressure, heart palpitations, even stomach problems, stomach reflux, reduced libido for both men and women, and many other, like eczema. It's very common these days as well to have this inflammation and itchy skin. That's a physical manifestation, and obviously any other much more serious health issues that can also lead even to cancer eventually. And on the behavioral level, it's lashing out at people pretty much at nothing, or simple tiny little problems, and people lash out, mood swing, losing temper very quickly, even broken relationships. And that's not just at home or with your love partner, but also with your friends and at work as well. And even worse, people stop paying attention to what they look like. They withdraw from social environment, social situations, and that actually can down spiral the whole burnout situation.
Yeah, you know, when you were saying that, it just reminded me of certain people that I know who were really experiencing that, but I didn't know it at the time. And they would retreat from social interactions, or you wouldn't hear from them for a long time. And it was because they were dealing with these demons inside of them, and they weren't able to vocalize it. And maybe on some level, they didn't even realize exactly what was happening. And I just feel it's a subject that people maybe struggle to discuss openly, but it happens to so many of us.
Absolutely. And when did you realize, Georgina, that you are suffering from burnout?
Do you know, it's really interesting, and it sounds probably crazy, but I didn't realize I was experiencing burnout until years after it happened. I was actually sat talking to a friend who said it to me. He said, "Oh, yeah, and when you went through your burnout." And I thought to myself, wait, what are you talking about? Which burnout? And he kind of broke it down for me. And he said to me, "You ended up in hospital. You were sleeping 4 hours a day. Your body said enough."
Absolutely.
And this friend actually works in the finance industry, so he knows what it's like. And he said to me, "You were going through something very similar to what I went through." And he said, "I can tell by your expression that you haven't even thought about it much." And it's true. I hadn't taken the time to digest it and to actually say, it's not just that I'm tired. Because I was telling people I'm tired. My mum even bought me a mug and it said, I'm exhausted on it. And I said, what's this, mum? And she said, well, it's pink. You love pink. And it says I'm exhausted. And all I hear from you right now is, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. So I bought it. And I just thought for a second, wow, even my mum is feeling that. And actually, she realized it was really bad when I said to her after having sushi with her, no, I can't go shopping with you. And she said, but I want to go to Sandro and to Mage and I want us to do some shopping, like some of my favorite shops. And I said, I can't, I have to go back and work. And she said to me, but it's Sunday, Gigi, and I'm visiting you. And I said, I know, I'm really sorry. And I think back on that now, years later, and I think, my poor mom, she was effectively watching me burn out, working insane amount of hours. And, a few months later, I was in hospital. So it really did take a toll on my health. And so I do think that sometimes we don't realize exactly what it is. And part of that is because people are led to believe that if you work in a particular industry or if you have a certain level of responsibility, that it kind of comes with the territory.
Absolutely, but it also, perhaps you were so busy that you didn't even have time for yourself.
Correct. I didn't have time for myself. And actually, I'd been going through a big breakup. My grandma had passed away. It was quite a rough time in my personal life. I was moving. And so I think it was just work, work, work. And yeah, even my social interactions, they were very much focused around work as opposed to my friends. And it just got too much. So I think all of that kind of spiraled. And I didn't actually realize until after that this is actually burnout. So for people listening to us right now, what do you say to them if they say to you, no, but my job is stressful? I mean, what is the difference really between stress and burnout?
Good question. I think stress, we all experiencing stress, but actually stress is not a normal part of our life. It could be natural to feel it from time to time, but not on a daily basis. If people feel stress on a daily basis, this is not normal. So I would encourage people to question the status quo and challenge your own beliefs around stress. Stress is not a normal part of our lives. It is from time to time, but not on a daily basis. So challenge the status quo, challenge your own beliefs that that stress is normal part of our lives, and then ask yourself a question: what belief is holding me back from being completely happy on a daily basis and being stress free? And if you ask yourself this question, then you can change the belief. You can replace it by repetition, by saying to yourself that stress is not part of my life, or I'm happy on a daily basis. I'm happy on a daily basis. So that's one thing. And burnout is something where you completely lose motivation, where your body is literally telling you to stop, but you don't listen to the signs until you literally collapse on the floor. When one thing happens in your physical health after the other, together with combined with stress, that's burnout. Lack of motivation to a point that people just withdraw completely and lock the door and do absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about frequency. I think stress in small doses is natural. There will be times where we'll feel a bit more stressed than others, certain
Absolutely.
events. But if you're feeling this constantly, every day, it is not normal and you shouldn't suffer in silence. And that's really the message I want to get out to our audience today, is that idea of not suffering alone. Speak to someone. If the tasks you have been given are not doable or not realistic, not achievable, ask for help. if you're feeling overwhelmed, whether it's due to a breakup, loss of a friendship, loss of a loved one, you should really be speaking to those who care about you and who love you, because there are people in your circle who want to help. But sometimes, if people do not communicate that with us, we have no way of knowing what
No.
they're feeling.
And very often we put the mask on and we pretend that everything is fine.
Yeah.
But it's okay to say, I'm not okay. I feel very stressed. I feel vulnerable. I feel emotional. Because if we don't say how we feel, don't dwell on it and don't talk day in, day out about it, how you feel. But if you talk to someone who you trust, on a close friend or someone else perhaps, and say only once how you feel about it, and spend maybe half an hour to an hour of dumping this on the other person, and then move on, then start thinking positive thoughts and start changing your life for the better, or one aspect of your life, then that's the best way forward. Because if we don't talk about how we feel when we feel those negative emotions, then it will just come back and kick us with a vengeance.
No, absolutely. And you did hit the nail on the head when you said some people do wear a mask and they don't want to talk about it. So if someone is listening to this podcast today and is thinking, this description really fits me, what should they do?
Start talking to someone first. Don't feel proud. Don't feel that you cannot do it because your ambition or your ego doesn't allow you to ask for help. Because the strength, real strength, comes from your vulnerability. For asking for help, that's your strength. The strength is not suffering in silence and suffering alone. So that's the first thing. And very often it's not just about talking to someone else. Very often it requires completely shifting and rethinking your life and what are your priorities. Because carrying on doing the same work that brought you to complete stress, chronic stress of burnout, it's not a solution to continue doing it. So you need to think what are your priorities in life, and eventually ask for some professional help. Whether, I'm not saying psychologist right away, but perhaps life coach or people in a similar field that can help you train how you can use your mind to be happier, healthier, and more successful in life.
I love that. I love a quote you said, which is real strength comes from vulnerability, because I think that's so true. And in the past, I was one of these people who thought, no, I can't talk about it. I just need to have my head down and do my job and do it really well, not ask for help. And that's not to say I didn't communicate. I've always been a communicator, but more about the positive side, not so much if I was struggling with something. And you are actually one of the Invicta Vita mentors.
Yes, I am.
Delighted to have you on board. So, what can you help Invicta Vita clients with? Do you want to tell us a little bit?
Sure. So, if people, the young people who are looking for the first job, what I could help them with is to build the confidence, or perhaps eliminate the imposter syndrome, and actually ask for big things. But that comes first with the mind, and it comes with the big dream goal that people have. Very often we adjust our expectations because we think that, the outside market, job market is really tough, so maybe I should adjust my expectation and lower them to a point that I want to get just any job. That's the worst thing that can happen to people. And the most important is to never adjust your expectation. Hold on to this big dream goal of whatever job you want to have, and build yourself from within. Expand your inner psychological self-image. Build your self-worth, your self-confidence, and your self-belief. And eventually you will get there. But of course, that requires this unshakable belief in yourself, despite and regardless of the external circumstances. Because as soon as we are affected by what's happening outside, then when we start struggling mentally, emotionally, and eventually we lower our expectations.
No, completely. I mean, the two of us could have let our health define our paths, but instead we decided to take control
Correct.
and say, enough, I'm going to push through
Absolutely.
and actually take control of the narrative,
Yeah.
not be a victim, and actually take steps to getting better. And I think that's really important. It shows that the inner mind, if you like, is really powerful, but equally it's important to ask for help when necessary.
Absolutely.
It's important to recognize the signs of burnout, which is not just stress occasionally, it's effectively, as you say, on a constant basis where you struggle to get out of bed or where it's affecting your health to the point that you have illnesses or rashes. And actually, we tend to sometimes think that illnesses just pop up out of nowhere, but they are linked intrinsically to our psychological and mental state, aren't they?
Yes, many physical illnesses are psychosomatic, which means that they come from past traumas or existing chronic stress, which we think it's normal. And again, let me rephrase it and say it again that it's not normal at all.
Yeah, I love that you're actually explaining that certain things we've been led to believe as normal are not normal.
Correct.
You know, we should not be in constant pain.
No.
And I know particularly as women, we're actually told, oh, this is normal, you know.
Absolutely.
Just put up with it,
You
right?
just put up with it.
And actually, I had a really refreshing discussion with my doctor, and he said, let me tell you right now, it's not normal. And it was really refreshing.
I would love to know what's his name or her name.
Yeah, I will give you the
that's
details.
Quite unusual.
It is quite unusual. And I think sometimes we're led to believe, no, it's normal. You know, so many people have dealt with this and they just put up with it.
Don't settle for mediocre in life. And even if hundreds of people tell you that you are, it's crazy. You are ridiculous with having those dreams of being pain-free or not suffering from stress anymore. Let me tell you, you are right and they are wrong.
I love that.
Don't be led by other people's belief how you're gonna live your life. You decide how you're gonna live your life and follow it.
Absolutely. Don't settle for mediocre. That's my highlight of today. I love that, you know, and actually don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't stay there sitting in silence. Reach out to people. And actually, if it's impacting you to that extent, if you don't want to get out of bed, then it probably means there needs to be a shift somewhere.
Absolutely. And one more thing I would add to those few highlights that you just mentioned would be invest in yourself, because investment in yourself is the best investment in your future. So don't be afraid to spend some money to invest in the proper training, in the proper mentorship, in the proper coaching, because this will only bring you the benefits in the near future.
I completely agree with that. I mean, they say health is wealth, right?
Absolutely.
So effectively, if you're in great health, you can achieve anything. If you don't have your health,
correct,
you're compromised. You have nothing. Exactly. So I've really loved this conversation with you. I think it's been really inspiring, and I encourage people to reach out to you if they want help dealing with burnout, with extreme stress, imposter syndrome, because I think we all experience that at some point. And I just want people to feel as though they can talk about it, that it's not taboo. It doesn't make you weak just because you've experienced burnout. I think most people experience it at some stage in their careers.
They do. We all do probably, but it's all about saying that I don't want to do it again. I don't want to go through the same situation again, and do something about it. Make some changes rather than try. This is just part of my life. No, it's not.
Absolutely. Take control of your life.
Correct.
Jowita, it's been a true honor having you on the podcast with Invicta Vita. Thank you so much for sharing your story, which is so moving and which I think will inspire so many, and which actually is proof that you can take control of your life.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
And thank you for having me. It was a pleasure speaking to you, Georgina.
Thank you.